Welcome back to the channel Official History of Coins. Have you ever emptied out a dusty old drawer, a forgotten purse, or a jar of change from the 1980s and found a coin that looked a little too shiny, a little too out of place? Most people would see a silver dollar and think it's worth exactly 100 pennies. But today, we are going to look at one specific piece of American history that breaks all the rules. First up, let's travel back to the end of the 1970s. The United States government had a problem. Paper dollar bills were wearing out too fast, costing millions to replace. So they decided to try a small, lightweight coin instead of the bulky old silver dollars. They chose a powerful face for it, Susan B. Anthony, a pioneer for women's rights. This was a huge deal because she was the first real, non-mythical woman to appear on a U.S. coin in circulation. The year was 1979, and the mint in Philadelphia stamped out a massive number of these coins. They had high hopes, but the public just didn't like them. People said they looked too much like quarters, and vending machines refused to accept them. So, the mint stopped making them for circulation after 1981, only bringing them back briefly in 1999. That short lifespan is the first clue that finding a high-quality one today is a special event. Now here is where the story gets exciting and why you need to check your mint marks right now. The Philadelphia Mint made over 360 million of these coins in 1979. Because there are so many, most of them are only worth $1. But hidden among those millions is a tiny technical mistake that created a legend. In the early days of production, the dies used to stamp the coins was slightly different. The result is the 1979 P-wide rim variety, also known as the near-date variety. If you look at a regular Anthony dollar, the date, 1979, looks like it is floating away from the edge. But on the wide rim coin, the rim is thicker, pushing the date very close to the edge of the coin. It is a tiny detail, but in the collecting world, that difference is everything. So why is this coin so much more valuable than the rest? It is all about supply and demand. While millions of the regular narrow rim coins exist, the wide rim version was only produced for a short time before the mint fixed the die. Because so many people hoarded these coins back then, thinking they were too weird to spend, we actually have a lot of them in good condition. Wait, that sounds contradictory, right? If we have a lot, why is it valuable? Because collectors love varieties. While a regular 1979 P coin might sell for $4, the wide rim version can easily bring in $10 or more just in your hand, ungraded. That's already double the value, but we are just getting started. However, if you want to see the maximum price, we have to talk about grading. A coin that looks perfect to your naked eye might be an MS-66, but the real money is in MS-67 and MS-68 grades. These are coins that look like they were made yesterday and never touched by human hands. A 1979 P wide rim graded MS-66 is worth about $132. That is a nice dinner out from a single dollar. But if you find one that is absolutely flawless, a perfect MS-68, that coin's value jumps to almost $1,900. You didn't mishear me. A single dollar coin, if it is the perfect wide rim version, is worth nearly $2,000. But wait, we aren't talking about pocket change anymore. We are talking about collecting trophies. The numbers I just gave you are for the wide rim coins that are in perfect shape. But what about a coin that isn't just a die variety, but a genuine freak of nature? The double die era, where you can see overlapping letters, pushes the value up to $317 for lower grades, and the rarest of the rare, the era coins. Imagine a Susan B. Anthony dollar that was stamped on a planchet meant for a quarter or even a nickel. These wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare. Let me give you the absolute ceiling for this specific coin. There is a record of a 1979 P Susan B. Anthony dollar that sold for $13,200. Another incredible era coin, overstruck on a nickel, sold for $15,275, $15,000, $200, and $75. That is the maximum value we have seen for a single 1979 Anthony dollar. That is life-changing money for a coin that most people think is just a burden in their wallet. I want you to look at that range. We have a coin that could be worth $1, or if you find the wide rim, $10. But if you find one that has survived in a drawer without a scratch, you hit $1,900. If the mint made a major mistake while stamping it, you hit $15,000. That is the thrill of this hobby. The coin was made to solve an economic crisis, to save the government money on paper notes. But ironically, because the public rejected it, the Susan B. Anthony dollar became a collector's item. It represents a failed experiment, a step for women's rights, and the Apollo 11 moon landing all on one tiny piece of metal. So what is the motivation here? Go check your old coin jars, go through your grandparents' attic. Look specifically for the 1979 Philadelphia coin, that is the one with no mint mark or a P. Look at the distance between the date and the rim. Is it touching the edge? Look at the rim itself. Is it thick and blunt? If the answer is yes, do not spend it, do not clean it. Cleaning it will ruin the value instantly. Put it in a protective sleeve. The maximum value you can hope for depends entirely on the journey that coin has taken. If it traveled in a pocket, it might be worth $10. If it traveled from the mint press to a collection without ever seeing daylight, you could be holding a $2,000 coin. Don't let the naysayers tell you that no one collects these. The history of the Susan B. Anthony dollar is a history of American failure, innovation, and art. Because the public hated them, banks stored millions of them in unopened vaults. That means there are perfect, uncirculated examples still waiting to be cracked open. You might just have the one that is perfect enough to grade MS-68. That is the dream. That is the treasure hunt. If you find a 1979 P with that thick rim, you have a piece of history worth far more than its weight in metal. Happy hunting, and I'll see you in the next video. Next coin, 1980 P Susan B. Anthony dollar. Let's talk about this specific coin sitting in your drawer right now. You have asked if it can be valuable in the future, and I am telling you that the potential is absolutely real. While most people look at this silver coin and see a failed experiment from the 1980s, smart collectors see a sleeping giant. The story of the 1980 P mintmark Anthony dollar is one of low mintage numbers, incredible rarity at the top grades, and a history that proves the public is often wrong about what becomes priceless. First up, we have to go back to the history of why this coin was even made. By the late 1970s, the United States government was tired of printing $1 bills that would wear out in less than 18 months. They needed a durable solution. President Jimmy Carter signed a bill in 1978 to create a smaller dollar coin, and the mint chose Susan B. Anthony to be the face of this new experiment. She was a fierce advocate for women's suffrage and equality, making her the first real, non-mythical woman to appear on a circulating U.S. coin. That alone is a massive piece of history. The coin was released in July 1979 with a lot of fanfare, but almost immediately, the public rejected it. Why did they reject it? Because the coin was too close in size and color to the Washington quarter. People kept spending them as quarters by accident, losing 75 cents every time. Vending machine companies hated them because the machines couldn't tell the difference either. By the time 1980 rolled around, the mint was already scaling back production dramatically. In 1979, the Philadelphia Mint had produced over 360 million of these dollars. But in 1980, look at the number. The Philadelphia Mint only struck 27,610,000 of these coins. That is a drop of over 90%. Low mintage is the first ingredient for future value, and this coin has it. Now let's look at the current value of your 1980p. If you have a coin that has been sitting in a jar, looking a little worn or scratched, that is what collectors call a circulated grade. At that level, the honest truth is that it is worth exactly $1. You might find a dealer willing to give you $1.05 or $1.10, but basically, you have $1. But do not let that discourage you. The real value begins when we talk about the condition of the coin. An uncirculated 1980p at MS63 grade is worth about $2.65. At MS64, it climbs to $4.05. At MS65, you are looking at $8.10. These are small numbers, but they are the base of a pyramid that reaches incredibly high. The magic starts happening at MS66. A 1980p graded MS66 jumps to a value of roughly $20. That is 20 times its face value, but we are just getting started. At MS67, this coin becomes genuinely scarce. Professional grading services like PCGS estimate that there are probably less than 500 examples of the 1980p in MS-67 condition in existence. Scarcity drives price. A single 1980p Susan B. Anthony dollar graded MS-67 by PCGS has a current value of approximately $108. That is the kind of money that makes you stop and look twice at your pocket change. But here is where the story explodes. The maximum value for this coin does not come from the regular grades. It comes from the absolute peak of perfection. At MS-68, the 1980p Susan B. Anthony dollar is almost impossible to find. The experts at PCGS tell us that there are less than a dozen examples of this coin known to exist in MS-68 condition. Think about that. Out of 27.6 million coins minted, only a handful have survived in perfect, flawless condition. That is lottery-level rarity. And what is the current value for that perfect coin? The CPG retail value for an MS-68 1980p is an astonishing $1,880. That is nearly $2,000 from a single piece of change. But wait, because the record books show that the maximum price ever paid is actually much higher. We have verified auction records from Heritage Auctions showing that an MS-68 1980p Susan B. Anthony dollar sold for $4,600 back in April of 2008. $4,600. And another one sold for $1,762 in 2014. A third sold for $1,528 in 2017. The maximum value we have seen for this specific coin, the 1980p mint mark, is $4,600. That is the ceiling. That is the number that should motivate you to search through every roll of coins you have access to. Now you are asking if it can be valuable in the future. The answer is yes, and I will tell you why. The Susan B. Anthony dollar is a short-lived series spanning only 1979 to 1981 and then a brief comeback in 1999. Short series always become collectible over time. As the decades pass, more and more of these coins will be lost, melted, or damaged. The surviving high-grade examples will only become rarer. The current value of $1,880 for an MS-68 is almost certainly going to rise. Look at what happened to other failed coins, like the 1913 Liberty Head Nickel or the 1974 aluminum cent. The public hated them at the time, and now they are worth millions. Consider the future potential for the MS-67 grade as well. With less than 500 known examples, demand from registry set collectors is already strong. Those collectors need this coin to complete their sets. When demand meets low supply, prices go up. It is a simple economic fact. The $108 value for an MS-67 today could easily be $300 or $500 in the next 10 years. The maximum value of $4,600 for an MS-68 could double if the coin market continues to heat up. This is not speculation. This is looking at the history of numismatics and seeing the pattern repeat itself over and over. You also need to look for mint errors on your 1980p. The search results show that error coins sell for serious money. One 1980p struck 80% off center sold for $505. Another coin with a 50% detached clad layer error sold for $396. And there is a listing online right now for a raw, ungraded 1980p that someone is calling a wide rim variety for $350. But here is the truth. The true wide rim variety is primarily known for the 1979p, not the 1980p. Some sellers list them incorrectly, so you have to be careful. But if you find a genuine mint error on your 1980p, you could be looking at hundreds of dollars instantly. Let me be very clear about the history of the Philadelphia Mint in 1980. They were producing these coins with a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel over pure copper center. The designer was Frank Gasparo, the same man who designed the reverse of the Lincoln Memorial Cent. The reverse of your coin shows a majestic eagle landing on the moon, with the Earth in the background. It is a beautiful design that honors the Apollo missions. That historical significance adds to the coin's long-term appeal. Collectors love coins that tell a story, and this one tells two stories: women's rights and space exploration. What is the maximum value we can sell it for right now at this moment? Based on the most recent verified auction data, the absolute highest price ever achieved for a 1980p Susan B. Anthony dollar is $4,600 for a perfect MS-68 example. If you have one in MS-67, your maximum today is roughly $108 to $236 based on the auction records. If you have an MS-66, your maximum is about $20 to $38. If you have a circulated coin, your maximum is $1, but do not spend that dollar until you have looked at it under a magnifying glass. Check the surface for scratches. Look at the luster. Does it look brand new? If yes, you need to get it graded. Getting your coin graded by PCGS or NGC is the key to unlocking its value. A raw coin that looks perfect to you might sell for $10 on eBay, but that same coin in a certified PCGS holder with an MS-67 label is worth $108. The certification proves to the buyer that the coin is authentic and that the grade is accurate. It removes all doubt. The cost to grade a coin is about $30 to $50. If your coin is truly an MS-67 or MS-68, that investment is nothing compared to the return. You can submit coins through a local coin dealer or through a submission club online. Do not skip this step. I want to motivate you to act today. Go find that old jar of coins, look through the change on your dresser, call your parents or grandparents and ask if they have any of those funny silver dollars from the 1980s. You are looking specifically for the Philadelphia Mint, which means no mint mark at all or a small P next to Susan B. Anthony's shoulder. The mintage of 27.6 million sounds like a lot, but remember, less than 500 exist in high grade. That means the odds are low, but the reward is massive. This is a treasure hunt with a potential payout of $4,600. Do not listen to people who tell you that modern coins are not valuable. The most expensive coin ever sold is a 1933 double eagle, which is a modern coin by numismatic standards. The Susan B. Anthony dollar is already 45 years old. That makes it a vintage coin in the eyes of a new generation of collectors. As young collectors enter the hobby, they will look for affordable entry points. The Anthony dollar is that entry point. They will buy the best examples they can find, driving up the prices of MS-67 and MS-68 coins. The future for the 1980p is bright. The maximum future value for this coin could easily reach $10,000 for an MS-68 within the next 20 years. That is my prediction based on the data. The population reports show that PCGS has only graded 3 examples of the 1980p at MS-68. 3. That is incredible scarcity. When you have a coin that is that rare, and you have a growing number of wealthy collectors who want to own the best of every series, the price has nowhere to go but up. If you are holding an MS-68 right now, you are holding a future 5-figure coin. If you are holding an MS-67, you are holding a future $1,000 coin. Let me summarize the current value ranges for your 1980p Susan B. Anthony dollar. Circulated condition, $1. MS-63, $2.65. MS-64, $4.05. MS-65, $8.10. MS-66, $20.25. MS-67, $108. MS-68, $1,880. And the record auction price, $4,600. The maximum you can sell it for today is $4,600 if you have the perfect MS-68 example. But even if you don't, the journey of checking your coins is free and the potential reward is life-changing. That is why I love this hobby. That is why you should be excited. You have the history, you have the values, you have the motivation. Now go check your 1980p Susan B. Anthony dollar. Look at the mint mark. Look at the condition, look at the luster. If it looks flawless, treat it like the treasure it is. Put it in a protective flip. Do not clean it. Do not. Second coin, the USA Susan B. Anthony $1981, is one of the most interesting modern American coins that continues to attract collectors around the world. This coin carries the name of Susan B. Anthony, a famous American women's rights leader, and it was created during a major change in United States coin history. The Susan B. Anthony dollar was first introduced in 1979 by the United States Mint. It was designed to replace the older large dollar coins with a smaller and lighter version that would be easier for people to carry and use in daily life. The 1981 Susan B. Anthony dollar was produced during the final year of the original production period. The main purpose of this coin was to honor Susan B. Anthony and recognize her important role in the women's suffrage movement. On the front side of the coin, you can see the portrait of Susan B. Anthony. The design was created by chief engraver Frank Gasparo, who wanted the coin to represent strength, history, and American progress. The back side of the coin shows an image connected with the Apollo 11 mission, featuring an eagle landing on the moon. This design connected the coin with America's achievements in space exploration. Many people become interested in the 1981 Susan B. Anthony dollar because some versions and special conditions can be much more valuable than ordinary examples. Collectors carefully search for rare mint marks, high-quality coins, and coins with unusual features. The 1981 dollar was made at different United States mint locations, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins with certain mint marks and special finishes are more desirable among collectors. A regular 1981 Susan B. Anthony dollar found in everyday condition may not bring an extremely high price, but a rare or professionally graded example can attract serious buyers and collectors. The value of this coin depends on many things, including its condition, rarity, mint mark, and whether it has special errors. A perfectly preserved coin can become much more interesting in the collector market. Some collectors are willing to pay strong prices for coins that look almost untouched, especially those with sharp details, original shine, and excellent grading. The highest values usually come from special examples rather than normal circulated coins. A top-quality 1981 Susan B. Anthony dollar can sometimes reach hundreds of dollars or more in auctions, depending on its rarity and demand. There are many coin collectors who want to buy Susan B. Anthony dollars because this series represents an important moment in American history. It is not only a piece of money, but also a historical item. The demand for this coin comes from both new collectors and experienced numismatists. Many people enjoy collecting every year and mint mark from the Susan B. Anthony dollar series. The 1981 version is especially interesting because it was near the end of the original run before production stopped for many years. This gives it a special place in modern coin collecting. People who discover one of these coins in old collections, boxes, or inherited items often check them carefully, because hidden value can sometimes be found in unusual examples. The coin market changes over time, and collector interest can increase when more people begin searching for certain coins. A coin that was ignored years ago can become more popular in the future. The Susan B. Anthony dollar also has educational value because it reminds people about the struggle for equal rights and the impact of Susan B. Anthony's work in American history. Many collectors do not only buy this coin for money. They collect it because of the story behind it, the design, and the historical importance connected to it. If you own a 1981 Susan B. Anthony dollar, checking the mint mark and condition is very important. A small detail can sometimes make a big difference in the final value. The maximum price a 1981 Susan B. Anthony dollar can reach depends on the exact type and quality of the coin. Exceptional examples with rare features can become valuable pieces in auctions. This coin proves that even modern coins can become collectible treasures. The value is not only in the metal itself, but also in the history, rarity, and interest from collectors. So the 1981 Susan B. Anthony dollar remains a fascinating coin that many people continue to search for. If you find one, examine it carefully because it could be a special piece waiting to be discovered.